Summerween's officially over. I kind of read a lot of spooky books, and some of them were really good. Some of them just weren't. So halfway to Halloween, some spooky summer vibes, whatever you want to call it, Summerween was here for July. I read 8 spooky books over the whole of July. Some of them were good, and then one of them was Earthlings. And I genuinely still don't know what to think about Earthlings. I think it still haunts me. It's just, I don't understand. I'm going to try my best to explain what every book was about, what the weirdest moment was, and if I loved and hated it, maybe give it some stars out of 10. And we are going to start with Earthlings. This wasn't the first book that I read as part of Summerween. It was so weird. It was so weird. So look at this cover. Look at it. I don't know what you think you're going into. Like, genuinely, I don't know what I thought I was coming into with this book. It's got a cute cuddly hedgehog on the front, you know. It's called Earthlings. Looks like it's going to be a good time. No good times had by any of us. It's just so weird. So the narrative is all around this girl, and it starts off that she is visiting, like they do every year, her grandpa and grandma who live up on a mountain with the other cousins and families of the family. Fine, great. Her sister seems like she's very entitled, and there's issues with the sister. But her and her cousin have like convinced that they aren't of this earth, and they're little kids, right? So yeah, okay, fine. But they carry this through into adulthood. Now, stuff happens to this girl. Like, there's some horrible things happen to this girl. She's groomed by a teacher. Like, her sister is absolutely awful to her. Stuff happens with the cousin. Stuff. Which causes a big rift in the family. And then it kind of time jumps forward, where she's married to this guy who isn't interested in a romantic relationship, as is she. They've married to try and stop the familial pressure to get married, have kids, all that good stuff, which they call, what do they call it? They call it the system, or they call it something very specific, because her husband had also bought into this idea that they aren't of this earth and they're waiting to be picked up by this alien race. It's just so weird. Just so, do you know what, like, most of the plot is easy enough to follow. You're like, okay, this is a bit odd, but okay, and then about like 80% of the way in, you go, what's happening? And I just can't describe it. I genuinely just can't. That's the weirdest moment. The weirdest moment is when her husband decides that he needs to get over his repressed sexual nature by going and committing incest with his brother. It's all very, very strange. It takes a very strong left turn somewhere, and you end up in this crazy place, and you just don't see it coming. And I never want to read this book again, ever. I don't recommend it to anybody. I don't know if hate's a strong enough word. It wasn't that I hated it. I'm so confused by it. I'm so genuinely confused by it. I'm never reading it again. I'm probably a 2 or 3 out of 10 for that one. It's not happening. The next one that I did an electronic book. So we then read We Have Always Lived in This Castle. We Have Always Lived in the Castle. Nope, that's gone back to the library. That's not very clever. By Shirley Jackson, who wrote Haunting of Hill House. This again was more of a novella, which was very similar to Earthlings. I think they were shorter books. They were novellas. I mean, this is supposed to be a horror book. I don't know. I don't know how I felt about this one either. It follows the main character it's Mary Cat in this, and they live in a small town. She lives in this house with her sister and their uncle. They're very reclusive. because of this big family event that happened where her sister poisoned her entire family and they all died. So Mary Cat goes into town. She's the one that gets the supplies, things like that. But they're very reclusive. The townspeople are very mean to Mary Cat. And it kind of follows that. Mary Cat is a bit of a strange character anyway. She puts things around the house and on the grounds. And then one of their cousins comes to stay and almost tries to like take over and find the family fortune. It feels like you're waiting for something to happen the whole time, but then nothing happens. It felt very anticlimactic to me. I enjoyed it. It was a fast read. I kind of guessed the ending. I kind of guessed what was going to happen. But it just felt very anticlimactic. I think is the best way I can describe it. I think I was waiting for something more. I didn't really get like horrified or unnerved. Not like Earthlings, which made me question my life choices. But we have always lived in a castle. Yeah. I just didn't get those vibes. It felt like it was trying to be gothic-y, but I wasn't quite convinced. I then read Cursed Bunny. So Cursed Bunny is a collection of short stories. So Cursed Bunny is by Bora Chung. It is a collection of short stories. These short stories are weird. Are just weird. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. You've got... There's 10 short stories in this book. It's about 2.5 hours, 3 hours to read it. I mean, it starts off with a head in a toilet that's made out of poo. It just, all of them is just a bit weird. They're all just a bit weird. You just don't know where you're going from one book to the next. You genuinely don't. I'm not really going to describe what happens in the short stories because they are genuinely like 10-15 minute reads. If you want a collection of just like really weird stories, this is the book for you because they're just a bit weird. They are a little bit horrifying. So I guess that hit the spooky meter on Summerween. I'd probably give it like a 3 out of 10. There was some weird stuff. I don't know how big I am on short stories and short story collections, especially like horror stories, because I feel like you're trying to cram quite a lot into a very small word count, and I don't always think that works. The last ebook I read was A Head Full of Ghosts. So this book follows the main character, which is Mary, and it's told in almost a retrospective because she is telling her story of what happened to her family from present day, and this was all supposed to have happened many years ago. It feels like it borrows very heavily from a lot of different stories already. It felt like it borrowed very heavily from The Exorcist, so it didn't feel overly original in that way. So the premise is that her sister is possessed by something and she's acting out, she's having all these weird moments. At the beginning she's just sick. Her sister is just sick. And Mary is very little and doesn't really understand what's happening. And her sister gets sicker and sicker, and they've been taken to a doctor. So at the beginning you kind of think, oh, she's got cancer, but it's not that. They think that she's got some psychological problems. And then it turns into she's possessed. Their father goes down into a very deep religious rabbit hole, so brings in a priest, but her father's not working and they are struggling for money. So the priest and her father have this idea to bring in a film crew to film the stuff that's happening. So Mary at the beginning is telling a fellow writer, because she writes a blog where she writes anonymously about this TV show. Then it ends. So this book, the most frustrating thing I had about this book is it kept saying I had like 23 minutes left to read in it, and I got to there and it was literally the last 23 minutes was just acknowledgements, author notes, and ads for other books by the same publisher. So I kind of felt very shortchanged by the end because I wasn't expecting to end there. Weirdest moment. Probably the cardboard playhouse where her sister like pops out of it, because the way that's described is really bizarre, and it makes you really question whether or not she is possessed, because it feels very weird. What would I rate it? Do I love it or hate it? For a start, do I love it or hate it? I enjoyed it. I don't think I'd want to read it again because it felt too predictable. Probably a 5 out of 10 for Head Full of Ghosts. Now we're getting on to my physical books. So we've got Grady Hendrix, the Final Girl Support Group. I feel like I'm a bit hit and miss with Grady Hendrix. So I enjoyed Horror Store. I didn't enjoy Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. This one was kind of in the middle. So the premise in this is that final girls from the 80s and 90s, which you would find in the horror stories, have all got together with a therapist to have a support group. Now the final girls in this are they are copies from the movies. You've got characters in here like you've got Julia Campbell, so that's like it's like Nev Campbell but with her name from Party of Five, and it was exactly the same premise as Scream. So they've all of these final girls are from horror movie franchises that we know in our reality. In this one, those franchises don't exist. They were real life events, and then all of a sudden the final girls start getting taken out, and we follow the main character, who is Lynette. She's a little bit of an unreliable narrator. Because you're not really sure what her backstory is. You don't really hear anything about her final girl was. She gets told that she's not a final girl because she was just somebody that managed to survive, because the criteria is that the final girl is the one that takes out the bad guy, and she didn't in hers. It was okay. What's the weirdest moment? Maybe the description of what happened to her. She gets impaled on antlers and she's just left there for dead while her family get dismembered and chopped up around her. That one was a bit weird. 6 out of 10. It was alright. I read it. I find with Grady Hendrix, they're easy to read. They're a little bit popcorny. Nothing outstanding or amazing, but good time generally. Wolfworm by T. Kingfisher was the next one I read. This is set in like the 1800s, and the main character is a woman who is she is a scientific illustrator. So she has moved to help a scientist by illustrating the insects that he finds, and weird stuff happens in the house. I don't know. I was really disappointed. I felt like I'd read this book before, and I know that like sometimes you get that with authors. They've got that very similar style. They write around certain things, but I just felt like I'd read it before. I've read obviously The Hollow Places. I've read What Moves the Dead, and it just felt really similar. It didn't feel like anything new or anything. I don't know. I was just really disappointed. I read it and I just got a bit fed up of it, which was such a shame because I was really looking forward to it. I thought it'd be a really good book, but that also makes me concerned about T. Kingfisher's like more horror-based books. That it makes me feel like they're going to be too similar to like for me to really enjoy them. What was the weirdest moment? Maybe the raccoon. Was it the raccoon? Was it a raccoon trying to get into her room? That was pretty weird. Overall, like a 5 out of 10. Just didn't enjoy it in the end. Alright, my last two books sound very, very similar. We've got Japanese Gothic and we've got Mexican Gothic. So Japanese Gothic was the Evernight Illumicrate book. A lot of people haven't liked this. I've seen a lot of people giving this book away or giving it low ratings. I really enjoyed it. It felt like the horror version of The Notebook. No, The Lake House. So in this there's two main characters who are set in different times, but it's all around the same house. And they are essentially in the same room, that's their bedroom, but there's a screen door that opens to a concrete wall apart from certain times. And when they open it, they can see into each other's rooms, and they can move into each other's times. Now, the female main character is from the samurai times. She's supposed to be like the last samurai family, and the male main character is supposed to be from present day. And I just had a good time. I really, really enjoyed it. I liked the premise. I thought it was a little bit crazy, but I really liked how it ended. Really liked how it ended, and the reason for it was, it starts off where he thinks that he's killed his college roommate, and he has gone to live with his dad in Japan, like very quickly. But he also lost his mother at a young age to, they don't know, it's a mystery to be fair. They lost his mother. They think that she's dead. They think that she got wheeled away in a suitcase, but that's as much as they know. So he spent a lot of time not knowing. But there's also, he's got this weird personality where he feels like he has to hide it, or he has to medicate himself because it makes people uncomfortable. So there's a lot where he feels like his memories are missing. He's trying to figure out what happened to his housemate. He's trying to keep an eye on the news because, again, so has somebody found a body? Because he doesn't remember what he did with the body. At the same time, they're trying to figure out what happened to her and how she died. Genuinely, I really, really enjoyed it. It's got elements of Japanese folklore in it, which I thought was really interesting way of weaving things into the story itself. I just had a good time. I loved it. Had a great time. So the weirdest moment, possibly him hiding under the porch in her time while she takes out an attacker above him, and he's got like blood dripping through the floorboards onto his face. So 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10. Enjoyed that. Finally, Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I love Silvia Moreno Garcia. I always have a good time. I felt like I should have read this for the Myco Punk on my Wheel of Weird, because that is what this is about, and I didn't see that coming. This is supposed to be, I don't know, set in the times of the socialites in the 1960s, 1950s. Anyway, she's supposed to be a Mexican socialite whose father receives a telegram from her cousin who's recently got married and moved, saying that she wants her to go visit. And it's weird. The husband is trying to say that she's had like a mental breakdown and she doesn't need to go and blah blah blah. But anyway, she goes. She ends up trapped into this weird house where stuff isn't right. The family aren't right. Her sister's heavily medicated. She's trying to understand what's going on, trying to unravel this mystery of what's happening in this house, and things just devolve into crazy mushroom hellscapes of trying to escape and survive. Loved it. Thought it was great. Had a great time. Weirdest moment. I mean, it's all pretty weird. It's genuinely all pretty weird. Just the whole stuff with like the patriarch. I can't think what his name is. There's like a uncle of the family, and like the weird backstory, and there's like incest in it from the backstory as well. I was just reading the back, and it says it's Lovecraft meets the Brontes in Latin America. It was The Guardian that said that. Yeah, the uncle's just really weird, and he's creepy, and he's a bit disgusting, and I didn't like anything that had the uncle in it. But genuinely, had a good time. Had a good time. Probably an 8 out of 10 for me. So overall, some of these books have absolutely earned their spot on my bookshelf. Some of them, I get that people love them, but I'm just not fussed. I'm not going to be keeping them. They're probably going to be the ones on the Kindle, to be fair. Not fussed for those. So best to worst. Worst, Earthlings, Wolfworm, Cursed Bunny, We've Always Lived in the Castle, Head Full of Ghosts, Final Girl Support Group, Japanese Gothic, Mexican Gothic is reigning supreme. So the final thing is thank you for watching. I'll see you again next week, and if you've got a Summerween book that you really enjoyed reading over July, put it down below. Would love to hear about it. Don't forget to subscribe and stick notify on. see you all again next week.